Geeks worldwide, good evening and welcome to the Upside Down. And why are we saying the Upside Down? Because guess what? It's episode 11 of the Geek Side podcast. And what better episode? Because tonight we're going to be talking about Stranger Things. Of course, we're going to be talking about the latest in Marvel and DC news, more accurately, Disney news, who's going to take over the whole world, apparently. We're also going to be talking about what we did in our wild world of geek in a little bit. But first, I have to introduce the rest of my young bike riding crew. You know, the guys that I always go on adventures with and kill demogorgons with. Of course, I'm talking about my amazingly beautiful, talented co-hosts. Starting off with the man that's still rocking the full mind down to Stark specifications again. I'm talking about Mr. Darren. Generally, Darren.
Hey, I am here.
Darren, are you there, Darren?
I'm here. Oh, wait.
I think you froze up.
I'm here. I see you. I see you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Ah, okay. There you are. I see you.
The internet's damn you.
Hey, man.
Yeah, talk to me, buddy. What's going on? What's new? What's on the flip?
Oh, there's so many things going on in the world. I mean, had an amazing Halloween with the family.
Good,
so
man.
Absolutely loved it. We did it up. We did it big. It was all Ghostbusters, all of us. My wife even dressed up, and she was not going to. Like, she was just adamant that it wasn't going to happen. Yes. But boom, she did it. So it was a great time. Everyone,
you guys looked amazing. You guys seriously looked awesome. Yeah. I stalked your Facebook pages pretty hard.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But yeah, other than that,
fits in with the theme of tonight.
Yeah,
that's part of it too. But other than that, it's just been great. It's been a weird week. There's a lot of stuff going on that I want to talk about.
We're gonna get to it, man. But first, we got to talk to our amazingly lovely friend Christina over here because Christina is always doing some cool stuff in life, and she's doing some extra cool stuff right now, or things that were coming up. So, Christina, what have you been up to lately, friend?
Well, for the last 16 weeks, I have been growing a small human inside of me. So that's exciting. Yes, I am pregnant. And according to the blood test that I had taken, it's a girl. So I'm going to show everyone the cute little Mandalorian onesie that I bought.
Aww.
And it also comes with an awesome matching little Mandalorian helmet beanie. Mm-hmm. They're super cute. Got on Amazon. They have, like the Boba Fett version, and they have like the cute little pink version. I hate pink, but I couldn't resist this one because it was so cute.
So damn cute.
So we're really excited. I'm really terrified and excited. Really, it's a combo. Never thought I was going to have kids, but I'm excited. I have a little geek kid, and I'm already planning a Star Wars themed nursery. So heavily Leia themed.
I'm just saying, I will in no way, shape, or form jinx you having a geek child. In fact, that is always a dream. But you must prepare yourself as the father of two. You must prepare yourself for the fact that your child at some point may reject all that you love.
I know, it's a nightmare of mine. Exactly. It's a nightmare of mine. But I'm trying to start her early because I've been listening to like nothing but like Star Wars soundtrack, Disney soundtrack, Dr. Horrible sing-along blog, and I sing it because I know she can hear me right now.
Yes.
It's muffled, but she can hear. So trying to start off early. So like her first Beatle memories will be of geek shit. So we'll see. Yeah, and Halloween was awesome too. We had a lot of kids. I was blown away. We had probably about 500 pieces of candy, and then like 100-piece pack of, surprisingly, the most popular, which was the Mott's fruit snacks. And we were cleaned out by 8:00. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of homemade costumes. It was neat seeing a lot of little girls as Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time. It was a good Halloween.
Awesome.
Get like no kids in my neighborhood, none whatsoever. It's just like I go out and do things, and even the last 2 years that we stayed out, I mean, we didn't get we got like one pair of like older teenagers like at the end of the evening at like 9. By that point, I was like, I don't want to open the door to anybody at 9 o'clock. But
we did get some people. We stay in Texas. You stay like out by your garage, and like 'cause it's just easier. There's so many people that it's just like they're in droves, and you just basically have a bucket, and you're like, here, pick one. And we got a couple that knocked on because our house was decorated, and so we had people come even after we turned off all the lights and stuff, and I had to be like, sorry, you cleaned us out. And I will say this is actually pretty funny. I woke up the next morning. We had one pumpkin stolen, which kind of pissed me off. But whatever. Like I'm actually surprised out of all of my years because I always have tons of pumpkins. This is the first time it's ever happened. But the funny part was somebody got a Starburst package from us, and they were clearly displeased because the wrapper was on the sidewalk, and it was. There were 2 yellow Starbursts.
I was going to say, did they get a double lemon? Did they get a double lemon? They had to have.
And I was laughing so hard because I couldn't be mad. They were probably like, fuck these people. Like, threw it out. Like, I didn't make the package.
Yeah. You gave me shitty Starburst and then you fucking give me a double lemon? Fuck you.
And see, and I disagree because the lemon are my favorites. So I don't know. I mean, I hate the pink ones. So
what?
I hate Starburst.
We'll trade. We'll trade.
Exactly. It'll be like some weird rock star writer. Like I cannot have pink Starburst ever.
So good.
Oh my God, it's too much. The highlight of the evening for me was right when I got off of work. I went to my sister's house, and she had she had catered some food, and my sister's like, she's like the Martha Stewart of our family. Like any excuse she has to make like a candy table, with like nice little decorative like vases and stands for the candy, she's all about it. So she's like, oh, I got a candy table and I got food and I have booze, and so went over there and did the food and the boozing, and then we took my older niece, who's 3 now, she's going to be 4 next year, trick-or-treating, and she's just like, man, she's so cute right now. She's super smart kid, okay, and she's like all about like when she gets to the house, she's like, trick or treat, like all excited and thank you, and like, mom, we need more candy and I want to keep going, and she's like the cutest freaking thing ever, and just makes me so excited that I have cute nieces until I have my own little geek kids, and I'm super excited for Christina and Brian that they're bringing in the next generation of geeks into the world very soon. So congrats to you, my friend, and to Mr. Walker, and I'm excited for both of you guys, and I can't wait to meet the little one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be good stuff. Speaking of cute kids, guys. Speaking of cute kids, speaking of episode 11, of course, we're talking about Stranger Things 2, guys, and Darren's seen some of it. Christina finished it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I finished it, and oh my God, man, I can't say enough about this show. On a side note, real quick before we get into that, I went to Spirit Halloween like the day after Halloween. When they start clearancing out all their stuff for 50% off, and Stranger Things section of costume stuff this year, and they had like the wallpaper with the lights with the letters that Joyce drew in the first season. So they had like one you could buy, which was a cloth one with just flashy light bulbs, and then they had the one that was like part of their display that actually spells out run, or it says right here. I was able to buy the display one.
Yes.
And I have that, and it's gonna go in my kitchen for Christmas decoration.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome because you can put it out. You can put it out through October, through December.
Yep.
Like any like Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. You can put it out like as early as you want and then keep it out till Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, I don't know about you, but I definitely felt like this season, I mean, they just went bigger and better, more danger, more what do you call them? Demodogs. Demodogs. More slimy creatures. More awesome interactions with the kids. We have a new crew member. We had Max. So much good things to say about the show. So much nostalgia and cool little Easter eggs from the 80s just interspersed throughout every episode. Christina, since you finished the show as well, talk to me about your reactions about Stranger Things season.
I'm going to attempt to keep it spoiler free, especially since not everybody's probably had a chance to finish it, and Darren definitely hasn't. I'm in love with Maxine.
Yes.
The first episode, of course, is titled Mad Max, so it immediately piqued my interest because I grew up watching Mad Max. My dad would like let me watch it Like we'd sneak in his room and watch it, and I loved it. So I was like, ooh, I already like this episode. And then when I realized it was a gamer girl, and then you meet her and she's a skater, and that's kind of how I was growing up. So I identified hardcore with her. Not so much what happens in her life. Like I didn't have a shitty brother or anything, but it was neat seeing her develop this relationship with these kids, because all of my friends were boys too. Right. I can see how some people have some like problematic issues with it. I personally didn't. And I like who she ends up with a lot. It's really cute. And it made me really happy. I also love the Halloween episode a lot. And the whole no, I'm Vinkman thing. I thought that was great. And yeah, just everything about it was really great. I thought the kids all stepped it up. The kid that plays Will, I think his name is Finn. I think it's the actor's name.
No,
is that Mike? The guy that plays Mike.
Mike is Finn. Is Finn Wolfhard?
Yeah.
I'm gonna use their character names then because I'm gonna get the actors' names confused. But Will, I thought, because we didn't get to see him really act a lot in season 1. He really, really steps up, especially in the later episodes where that kid is like insanely believable. And I just wanted to like hug him, like, and protect him.
Some gut-wrenching scenes.
But I think that's the thing. That's one of the things I've been enjoying about his performance is that you want to do that, but that's the exact opposite of what he feels he needs, and that's been so great.
And he portrayed it so well too, because you could see that he was, oh man, and these are children, like. I mean, they're preteens, but they're still kids, and to act that well is really impressive to me. And then again, Hopper is he's still my favorite. And I don't know if anybody else noticed, I've been wondering for the last last season, and then through this one, he has like a little blue bracelet on. And somebody pointed out to me the other day that if you paid attention to the first season, they show his daughter with her hair, and she has like a little blue scrunchie, and that's her blue scrunchie. And I was like, oh god.
Absolutely.
And then of course the person who stole the show was Sean Astin. Bob is amazing, and if you like superheroes, you need to get to know Bob because he is awesome. And then Steve, who can't really spoil up, but he ends up being like, I know that you changed your mind about him in the first season, right? But the end of the second season, you're like,
did Steve become the breakout? You just love it.
I know.
He's my second favorite character, and I'm like, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
But I fucking love Steve.
Yes. Funniest thing, I saw a meme with Steve and his bat with the nails in it, and somebody put that next to a picture of Negan, and it's like Negan the early years. I was like, yes, absolutely.
Well, Jeffrey Dean Morgan did say that he'd be willing to lend Stranger Things Lucille for the next season. Yes, absolutely. It's so good. Darren, you've only made it to about season 4, man, but talk to us about, or episode 4, but talk to us about what you're thinking about the show so far, man. Well, I'm absolutely loving it. I did get my loot crate little diorama that's so cute that I'm trying to decide if it's going to stay in this office on the desk or if it's going to my work office and be on the desk. But I think if it goes to work, then people are going to ask me about it, and it's going to force me to talk to people I don't like. So, so I think it might just stay here. Exactly. So what do you say here? But I'm really enjoying it. It's just the fact that everyone's acknowledging what happened last season, and they're acting accordingly. It's not I like the natural kind of dynamic of everyone. I like the fact that Joyce is overprotective. I like the fact that that everyone, like, instead of hanging out with people his own age, like Mike's, his Will's older brother, I forgot his name, but he's like, I'm gonna go home and hang out with my brother because they want to protect him. Like that's cool. I like, like, honestly, like the last scene of the first episode just kind of got me. I was just like, oh, okay, if that's what you're doing this season, then I'm all in. So
there's several episodes that are going to do that. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So so like I said, I'm only on episode 4, but and the reason why I'm on episode 4 is because my wife did not watch the first season at all. She was not interested. No interest in it whatsoever. And all of a sudden, I'm watching it, and she says, well, let's start. She said, I'm going to start watching it. So that means all of us start watching. We have to go back to the beginning and start season 1 all over again. So now she's still catching up on season 1, and which means of course I have to slow down because I can't be that far ahead of her. So
you're gonna want to watch it again though, because I already want to sit down and go through season 2 again.
Yeah.
In case there's stuff I missed.
I think one of the most fun things for me was really seeing how the characters, the main characters, a lot of them have really changed their roles in season 2. We see Hopper really becoming like a father. We see Steve becoming this protector, and he's making sure that the kids are safe, and if they're going into trouble, that he's the guy going in first. You see Mike going from really like the leader of the group to kind of maybe like not sure where he fits in this whole dynamic now with 11 being gone and things like that. I really like the way that a lot of the characters grew in different ways, and a lot of them are struggling with different things. So I think that was a really cool thing to kind of change things up as far as the characters go, rather than just kind of continuing the way things were exactly. But a lot of cool. I wanted to read some of this list that I found, guys, and it was some of the Easter eggs, and I'll keep it to the ones of the episodes that Darren has seen already. Now, Darren, did you say you did or didn't get to the Halloween episode?
Well, which one is the Halloween episode? Because like I said, it's kind of okay. Yeah, I got into that one.
Okay. So 11 wanted to mention wanting to be a ghost, and of course that was a direct nod to E.T. Who, when they took him out for Halloween, was dressed as a ghost. Yeah. Bob's camera that he has is the exact same one that Marty McFly uses to document Doc's time machine experiment Back to the Future, which is kind of a fun nod. And another Back to the Future nod. The brand of skateboard that Max uses is the same brand that Marty uses.
That one I did catch.
Hill Valley.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is great. A little funny mathematical one. 11 says that it's been 326 days since she last saw Mike, and 3 + 2 + 6 = 11. Okay, kind of some random ones. Paul Reiser, who was the doctor in season 2, also played the villain Carter J. Burke in the film Aliens, which a lot of major thematic influence was from Aliens in this season. Of course, there's the flamethrowers being used to kind of keep the spawn of the portal in check. There's a couple of nods in chapter 1, Mad Max, to there's a scene where the door opens and Will's seeing the upside down, and that was almost like a exact copy of a shot from Close Encounters.
Yes, I was bringing that up.
And it was beautifully done too.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we see a Steve and Nancy dressed up as Tom Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay from Risky Business. And that was a nod, I guess, to something he had said in season 1 about Tom Cruise being her boyfriend, I guess. and of
he was everybody's boyfriend then, because he was my sister's too.
That's true. It's true. Now, funny, another thing I want to talk about real quick, and I know a lot of people complained about, and you haven't gotten there, Darren, I believe it's episode 7, Christina, where 11 meets her sister.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought that specific episode was very out of place or unlike the other ones. It's
definitely a standout. It's a standalone episode, really, but I really liked it, and I'm sad we didn't get more, because now I'm invested in that character and I'm curious what happens. And I don't know how I feel about what direction they should have gone, but I'm sure they're already planning on season 3. So with that, they probably had that in mind when they were making season 2. She's a cool character though, and I really would like to see where they take it. And Darren, is that a spoiler if I tell him who she is?
I don't
know. It's the girl you see in the first episode, very opening scene.
No. Well, see, you get that impression from the tattoo. Like I figured out who she was.
Oh, right. They show that.
From the tattoo in her hand. Yeah.
Yeah. With obviously that specific episode is kind of a nod to Empire Strikes Back with, you know, her training 11 as Yoda trained Luke. And of course, there's even this list I saw. There's even a nice side by side picture of both 11 and Luke doing the right-handed force move with their hand sticking out. But here's a really interesting one, Christina. 8 or Kali or Kali is the name of the Hindu goddess of death.
Yes.
Which could be some foreshadowing, who knows? But I really enjoyed that episode. As far as it being out of context or out of place, I understand why they did it. I feel like it was very important for kind of, I guess, 11 to see what else is out there, you know?
Yeah.
Not just her own little sheltered backyard of Hawkins, but it was, I think it was important for her to see exactly how easy it would be for her to go another way and to appreciate everything that's happening with her friends and her family that she's kind of,
I would say,
cultivating.
Yeah, and I would say just even not having seen the episode, but from everything I've read regarding, you know, kind of what you all are talking about, I think it does not only set up having 11, like giving 11 an opportunity to have her journey, like a little bit, but also, you know, again, foreshadowing things to come. I mean, because if 8 is out there, then, you know,
there's more.
Exactly. Whereas like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Also,
I believe
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. We'll finish your thought because this is a segue thought.
Yeah, you were talking about the next season. I read another article, and apparently the Duffer Brothers have this. Their vision is a 4-season show. So
okay,
we still have.
I like that. So it's not going to be forever. So we're not going to run out of ideas, and it's going to feel weird. They have a kind of a set.
Yeah.
I like that, a set storyline.
That's good.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to say was that Dragon Slayer, by the way, I'm infuriated these children can play as far as they can get and as many points as they can, because that game is fucking impossible. Like they picked the one
past, like, the
game
first
where I
two
was
challenges.
like, no, it's. I was like, you got the high score in this game, and it's like I can't remember what it was, but I remember looking at it, I'm like, no.
Yeah, no way, impossible.
Okay, so I'll be honest with you. Growing up in LA, we moved to LA when I was in 2nd grade, and kind of grew up out there until we moved back when I was in the 7th. Before I started 7th grade, my stepdad, like every Saturday morning, would take me and my brothers to this arcade bowling alley like restaurant. It was kind of it was like it was literally like a Waffle House with with an arcade in it. But it was the greatest experience ever, because it was, you know,
absolutely.
It was exactly what it was just amazing. I rocked the hell out of Dragon's Lair. I can tell you right now, that was my game. Not only was that my game, but I like that Space Ace. I wanted to be an animator, like just playing it, because I love.
The game was gorgeous.
Yeah, because I loved Don Bluth animation. So it's like I rocked the game. I think that was probably like my prime reflexes at that point. Like I was never as good at. Exactly. I was never as good at sports going forward, as I was playing that game. So that scene was just like that brought up memories.
Took you back, huh?
Really watching Dustin lose his shit and start cussing was also super awesome. I loved it so much. But yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I kept playing that game, though, was even though it was like it was like the first game I probably ever rage quit.
Yeah.
Because it was expensive too. I mean, even though like I'm not the same age as these kids, obviously. I was born in '83, but the arcades in Fresno where we grew up were a lot of the older games anyway. And that was just one that was a classic. And like in most arcades, you can still find it if it's still working. And because it was so pretty and I liked the animation in it, I wanted to keep playing it.
Even if you sucked, even if you only played the first level.
Yeah, and I was okay at it. Like once you got used to like the levels, you're like, okay, I can maybe get through this one. But man, that game. Whew.
I'll tell you guys. Christina, did you ever go to Playland back in the day in Clovis?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
That made me miss that whole episode where they're in the arcade made me really miss Playland.
Yeah. I miss going to
Oh,
arcades. I mean, I just do.
Yeah.
And they're not, they have arcades still, but they're just not the same.
No.
It's a different experience now.
Well, see, they have this, and I'm with you on that. There's a up in Huntsville, they have like this kind of restaurant. They're like gentrifying the area. They have this arcade where it's just like this room where it's just filled with arcade machines, but it's also a family restaurant. So it's just like, I want, at this point, if I'm gonna go to an arcade, I'm gonna like walk around. I'm gonna have a few beers and walk around and just randomly just start playing shit. If I have to if I have to be careful and like not to step on your 6-year-old, then you're just kind of you're just taking the experience. Yeah,
that's why there's a bar in LA that I've been to several times, and for the love of God, I can't remember what it's called. It's not the One Up. That one's in Sherman Oaks, but it's near Koreatown. And oh my God, I think it's actually called 82. That's exactly what it is. It is a full bar, and it has it's split in two, and one half is all pinball machines, the other half is all arcade cabinets, and they even have like the original Star Wars one where you blow up the Death Star, and that one's hard to find because they all like just died. And it was in perfect condition. And they have Dragon's Lair, and they've got Mortal Kombat, like a section set up for Mortal Kombat people, and they have a big screen TV where they watch the tournaments of people playing. I don't touch that because I'm terrible at Mortal Kombat. But that place was awesome because it was basically just adults. It's a full bar. And all of these really great arcade cabinets that were in fantastic condition. And I want to say that you could play for free if you like give them so much money, but I think you have tokens. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I mean, I would just spend all night there. It's the best. If you're ever in LA, and if it's still open, I hope it still is. 82 is awesome.
Nice.
That's magical.
You don't have to worry about trampling children.
Yes.
Which is a concern. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Especially when you're boozing and playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Christina, what do you hope for season 3 of Stranger Things?
Well, I definitely want to see more of Callie. She's cool. I want to see Lucas and Lucas and Dustin maybe do a little bit more. I know that they're not the main characters. I know that it's really about 11, Mike, and Will. Like, it's really kind of the three. But I love Lucas and Dustin so much that I really want to see a little bit more of them. And I also hope that, because it's two brothers writing it, from a female perspective, I do like all of their characters, the female characters. But it definitely feels like it's written by a dude when it comes to them.
Gotcha.
So I think they're listening to their fans. Yeah. Maxine got a little shafted, I feel like. I also, there's a scene between Max and 11 too that I feel like it was a lost opportunity. Actually twice. And it was just really weird and like stereotypically tropey, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It didn't ruin it for me. I just hope that they calm down with the tropes a little bit. That would be
okay.
Definitely want to see more of the children from the lab. I guess some of them would actually probably be adults depending on when they started this whole program. Right. And definitely more Hopper, because he's my favorite.
Hopper's bomb.
Yeah.
Darren, you'll have to answer this question when you've seen the whole thing, about what you hope for season 3. I am interested to see what's going to happen with 11 next season, because if we feel like the creatures, overlords, whatever you want to call them, of the Upside Down need somebody with strong abilities to channel themselves through, the strongest person in that group is 11. So what's going to happen if they take over 11 and she becomes the enemy and they have to band together to stop her without killing her? It's going to be interesting. And I think, if we're taking a note from the Dungeons and Dragons book of villains, there's somebody bigger and badder out there than what we dealt with this season. So
yeah,
things could get hairy and wild. But
it was very Lovecraftian this season also.
Yes. So definitely getting a Call of Cthulhu vibe from with a lot of the visuals.
I dug it. I like it.
Yes,
creeped me out, so that means it was sufficiently done well.
So good. But love Stranger Things too. I can't wait for season 3. Hopefully we hear something soon about that. I'm sure we're going to. But Anyways, guys, let's talk some movie news. Obviously the big geek mind blowing event that we heard about possibly forthcoming is that Fox could be in talks with Disney to sell most of their company to Disney. And of course, immediately everybody went to, well, what does that mean? What does that mean for the MCU, which is owned by Disney as well? What does that mean for the Fox flagship franchises like X-Men and Fantastic Four? Could they finally be coming home to Marvel? What does it all mean, Darren? Darren, what does it mean, man?
Well, I mean, from everything that I read from Bloomberg to CNBC to Fox Business to everyone, it was pretty much the same level of information. See, what you had is you have Fox trying to streamline their business so that they're going to concentrate on sports and news. And because the reason why it'd be Disney having most of the company is because of antitrust laws, Disney cannot own two broadcast networks. So they couldn't own both ESPN and Fox Sports. So with that being said, they would own Fox Studios, which means they would own like the FX network, and they would in fact they would have the X-Men back. They would have the Fantastic Four back. They would have the Silver Surfer and Galactus and all those characters back into the fold. That is and honestly, I think this is kind of what Stan Lee had been teasing about when he was talking about Marvel trying to get the characters back. Yeah. I think because from everything I've read, these talks have been going on and off for a while.
Right.
I think they're off now because they've been exposed, but I mean, we
definitely know that they've been going on for a while, because that's why we got Spider-Man and they've been in Civil War. I mean, so clearly they were discussing things.
Well,
that's Sony.
That was Sony. Yeah,
I was confused. But hey, at least and even then, at least they're talking. We know their fingers are in all the like little marble pots, which is, in my opinion, a good thing, because I feel like it needs to be cohesive.
Yeah.
I don't give any shits about the Fantastic Four. That might make me a really bad Marvel fan, but I really don't like them. So I could not possibly care less if anything happens with them. Now they could sell me on it if they make a good one, okay, but they've done it a couple times and they're just hot garbage. I don't even like the comics, but it would be really cool to see. I know, I'm sorry. It'd be really cool to see the X-Men though brought back, and Fox did a good job with Logan and Deadpool. Like, they were really, really well done, but I'd want them to be able to interact with some of the other big Marvel characters, and right now they can't.
Yeah.
And the other movies just
how mind numbing would it be? And if we look at what movie was under Sony and then look at what Spider-Man was under Marvel, and if we look at that same formula, what would a Fantastic Four Marvel run movie look like? I mean, how good would it be? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like that's one of the only things that could save that franchise, if it's even worth saving at this point.
Well,
probably true.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: like I am a huge Fantastic Four fan and a huge Fantastic Four comic book fan. Like I could not stand the movies. I couldn't stand the movies just visually. Like, I love Michael Chiklis. I loved the Shield. I loved the Commish. He's not tall enough to play Ben Grimm. But my problem is that then they go the other way in the other film, and he just looks wrong. So I'm always been a huge like Fantastic Four fan, but yeah, it is hard to kind of bring them to the screen without them going to the extreme of it just being family bickering. There's more to them than that. But my thing is that just from a scenario standpoint, if this actually happens, like because I'll put it to you this way. Hugh Jackman has talked about coming back to the role of Wolverine. If
there was one major thing, right?
Exactly.
That he said.
There's one major thing. If Marvel had control of the character.
Right.
So could we? Yeah. So this being happened, we may see Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine. it's not. I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility.
Okay.
But you have that there. But my only concern, and is basically just a content concern. Can you still have an R-rated Deadpool under a Disney banner?
Good point.
Because you're not going to be able to you can't sell toys.
And I'm sorry, but Deadpool needs to be R-rated.
Exactly.
Like it's
not
NC-17. Like it has to be.
Yeah. I mean, it can. I mean, you could. I mean, not Marvel. Disney has subsidiaries. Like they had, oh God, what was there? They had like Touchstone, where you could have. Exactly, back in the day, where you could have that. If they kind of spin it off, like even if they do like a Marvel Max studio, like if they just kind of spin off and do an adult Marvel studio like they did with the Marvel Max imprint, then I think it could work, because they're kind of doing that to a point, like because they're pushing it with with Jessica Jones, with Punisher coming up, because like that first episode of Punisher just is a bloodbath of awesome. Just like it's
my eyes just lit up. See how big my eyes got?
I'll just tell you right now, like it's like a slow. It starts off like violent, and then kind of like tapers off, and it's kind of a slow burn. And then just when you think like, oh, this like what's about to happen, it's just like boom, it hits you like this. The final scene of that episode is just like I had to literally had to rewind and watch it again. Because just waiting for that moment when you see like Frank. Anyway, I just want to spoil it, but there's like I don't want to spoil it at all, but it's definitely worth it. But it can be done. It can be done. Yeah. So I think if it happens, I think we're gonna see a big rollout of a new kind of imprint of Marvel films, but they're not going to be part of the MCU yet. And honestly, I think that might be one of the reasons why Marvel Studios is kind of kind of going over what Phase 4 is going to be like, because I think they may know something that we don't about. They might be able to work with some more characters. So if they can broaden their canvas, we might see something bigger coming down the line.
What do you think the possibility is that, like with the Sony deal, this may be further along than we know, and they might be trying to get some Fox characters for like the second Infinity War movie or Avengers 4, we're saying. What do you think the possibility is of that?
I think honestly, if it's I think the fact that both parties are so adamant that they're not talking about it means that something's already happened. Like this is just at this one, I think like even though they're still talking about negotiating, I don't think they're negotiating at this point. They're not negotiating a sale. I think they're negotiating the fine print. Like they're they're making
logistics and
exactly. They're making sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Because if you're going to spend, because if you're actually going to, put it out there that this is what you want to do, and you've got like, I think at this point, just the news that came out was just kind of spooked them into saying, okay, let's step back and let's go back into secrecy on it. But I think honestly, and it's just speculation, but I think the deal is maybe 70 to 75% done already. They just need to get with like the regulators to make sure it actually can go through.
So. Absolutely, I agree with that, man. Totally agree. Christina, what would you like to see some Fox characters in one of the last two, as we know them, Avengers movies?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it would be really cool to see, even if they incorporated some of the X-Men in there, and we have Spider-Man at least. Finally, yay! It's hard to make the Spider-Man can't be part of the Avengers jokes anymore. And it would be really cool to see even Deadpool incorporated into that world, to like add even some more. Like I want to see an Ant-Man and Deadpool interaction so bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even with Tony, like just the ridiculousness and the vulgarity would be personally awesome to me. I mean, yeah, it would be really cool to have all of Marvel together, because when I used to read comics when I was younger, I don't really read Marvel anymore. I loved it when they would mash them all together, especially when it was like X-Men hanging out with the Avengers and that sort of stuff. I loved it. So yeah, and it'd be cool to see, especially Wolverine, like to be a part of that would be really neat.
Yeah, you know, like, and I agree with you. I'm actually getting more. I'm more into. I've always been a DC fan, and I read every DC comic, but I've gotten back into Marvel lately, and a lot of it is because like there were like those bridge characters. Like it wasn't Wolverine for me; it was actually Beast. Like when Beast was, you know, a member of X-Force, but also an Avenger. That's kind of when I mean, that's what I was growing up.
I forgot he was an Avenger.
Yeah, he was X-Force. He was on things like he was the Wolverine before Wolverine. I mean, Wolverine was there, but Wolverine wasn't part of every team as they did. Like when, yeah. But he was my bridge, and I really enjoyed those stories. So I kind of would love to see something like that. Maybe just maybe not the whole X-Men, but Hank McCoy.
Yeah, like a few of them, like basically kind of like my favorite ones. So yeah, like Beast, Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops can just not show up. That'd be fine. Poor Scott. He used to be my favorite. Now I can't stand him.
Just tell him to take a long walk off a short period.
Well, here's the thing. The version of Scott that works right now is the teen version of Scott from the Champions. Is really well done. Like just the only thing, one of the things I loved about that storyline was just for the briefest of moments, Scott Summers making out with X-23 and Logan finding out. Just like
not good.
That was. It was just a temporary thing, but it was just so much fun to see. And then the fact that she then goes and she's with Warren, which is just kind of weird in and of itself.
That's not one dad you want to meet pissed off because you're dating his daughter.
What's the thing? I thought it was perfect considering like for years it's been Logan trying to undermine Scott's relationship with Jean. I thought that'd be the perfect
nice change of dynamic there.
Right, exactly.
But it's sort of like Scott making out with him though. It's just weird. Yeah. It's like him and also his daughter.
Right, which is why
because like she's like that's a bad analogy. Not really though. She's his daughter, but not exactly. So
but she's also him.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's gross to me, Scott. Why would you do that?
Yes. Who knows, guys? But as every other geek in the world right now, I'm anxious to see what's going to happen with these alleged talks and where that will lead us in future MCU endeavors. Speaking of MCU endeavors, reigning supreme as not only the god of thunder, but the god of the box office this weekend. Of course, we're talking about Thor Ragnarok, which opened to the tune of $122 million domestically.
Earned every penny.
Beautiful. Darren, because you've seen it, Christina has not seen it yet. I know she's going to see it soon.
He's my favorite. He is my favorite Avenger. I'm a bad Thor fan.
Christina, when I think of people, when I think of gender bent Thors, you're number one, absolutely for sure.
Aww.
So the fact that you haven't seen it, I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Life's been crazy.
Yes, it has. It's true. But Darren, here's what I don't understand, Darren. I loved this movie so much. It was so funny, so much heart, great story, action sequences. We're talking like the third act was mind-numbingly exciting and full of action. Why the fuck is everybody's biggest complaint that this movie was too funny? I don't understand when a movie being funny became a bad thing. I don't get it.
I don't know. I think the problem is that everyone's looking from a perspective of either from the last two Thor movies, which were a little bit serious, or is the fact that because everything's ramping up to Infinity War, they think that things should be everyone should be taking things more seriously, and that's the worst thing about it. Like the main thing I love about this movie is that they leaned into the absurdity. Like they took the cosmic part of the Marvel universe is just like a universe of the absurd.
Yes.
And they are, and Guardians and Thor are leaning into it. And that's what's making it work. Is that I mean, you're having these weird situations, these weird characters, these weird ass scenarios. Like you're mixing magic and mysticism and technology and worlds, and it's not supposed to be taken seriously.
You're hitting it right on, man. And what I don't, and I wish people would kind of just think a little bit ahead, because another complaint I'm getting is like, it's too much like Guardians. But you don't understand, this is where this phase of the Marvel movies is going. It's going into that cosmic arena. We're talking about Thanos having an infinity gauntlet that he can alter time and reality and space. Like, you don't think things are going to get slightly weird? Like, they're just gonna, like, I'm talking like tripping balls, like mind-numbing Kessel Run kind of weird, okay? Like, things are going in that direction. That's why these next films that are coming out, Guardians 2, Thor Ragnarok, they're all gonna start to deal with those themes and those elements, because that's the end game. That's where we're going. The rest of it, it's not gonna be like very, what we call practical reality. It's gonna be like mind-melting, like crazy shit that we're probably gonna see in Infinity War. And so, like, when people are like, well, it's too much like Guardians, I think they just copied Guardians because it was really good or it's really successful. No, you don't understand. Like, this is where this story is going, guys. Come on. Like, just think about it a little bit.
Well, and the thing is too, like, as someone who grew up reading Thor, like old, like original Thor comics, they're fucking ridiculous. Like, they're not.
It looks like an acid trip, right?
Dude, and they are goofy as shit. They are rife with weird and like, it's comedic, and it's and then of course when we get further along, they tried to make it a little more serious, and sometimes it worked in the comics, sometimes it didn't. But even in the serious moments in Thor comics, if you read them, there's still funny stuff, especially when it comes to Loki. So I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm withholding my opinion on the comedy aspects of it until I see it. But like I said, having read the comics and knowing how goddamn goofy they are at times, I don't think it's going to bother me, and everything I've seen of it so far has gotten me very excited about it, because I thought that Thor 2 was not good. Now, it was beautiful, but it took itself too seriously, where I was like, this isn't a Thor movie to me. This is not Thor. The first movie, I thought, did a good job of balancing the two. It had its serious moments, but I mean, it had its really comedic relief moments, because he had his Warriors 5 and that or Warriors 3, and that like really helped the whole. You know, the banging on the window thing was still like my favorite.
Well, and I'll even break it down. Like, I'll even break it down more simply. I'll even break it down simply. These aren't characters who any of this shit is new to. Like, if all of this stuff was happening on Earth, you'd have that sense of awe from people who have never experienced this. All of these people in these movies and Guardians and Thor, they've seen this shit before. They know where Scar is. They've seen aliens. They've seen different types of aliens. They know about Gladiators. None of this is
They're
new.
dealing with gods and myths and legends that are reality. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I mean, all this talk about it's just hard to kill an Asgardian. So yes, all of these things are known throughout the galaxy. Like, you're basically coming into a party where everybody knows each other, and you're trying to figure and the ones who
you don't even know the theme of the party.
Exactly. And the ones that I think are getting the most frustrated are the ones that realize that they're inside jokes that they just don't get.
Yes.
It's like you're that guy at the party that doesn't want to engage.
The analogy that I can think of is that, because I'm a cosplayer, but I was also an actor, most of my actor friends take like their job sometimes a little too seriously. They're just like regular people. They think cosplay's fucking weird. They don't get it, right? So one particular actor friend of mine, his name is Brett, super cool dude. He came to Comic-Con once because he was in Knights of Bad Astin. He was a character in it. And he was like, hey, do you want to grab coffee or something? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. I would love to see you. He's like, I just need to get out of this con. Like, I'm really freaked out. I'm like, why? He's like, there's all these weird people in costume, and like I like you a lot, so I just need you to explain this to me and like get me out of here because I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay. So we go and like go get coffee or whatever. And I'm in costume, of course. And he's like, I mean, you look cool. I just don't fucking get it. And I feel like it's like that sort of thing where like they don't, which is totally fine. Cool,
but I don't get it.
And there's also people I know that have seen it that apparently said that they've read Thor, that they like it, and they didn't care for it either. And that's it's okay not to like it. I just think that people are protesting too much about some of it. But anyway, like, and I'll have a bigger opinion when I see it. Hopefully I'll see it this weekend, and then I'll have because he is my favorite, so I'll have my opinions on how they did the movie. But that's kind of my analogy, though. It's like the normies meeting the cosplayers. We're like, what is it that you do? You dress up for okay. Why? Because we want to.
Not because we can. Because we can.
You get paid for it? No.
No.
So kind of like that.
Yes. Darren, before we switch gears, because Christina doesn't know about this yet, but one of the breakout characters for me that had me like in tears every time he would deliver a line was Taika Waititi's character, and I can't think of the name of the character right now. Yes, his lines and just the way he delivered them.
He's like, "Hey man,
voice, hey bro."
Have either of you guys watched What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Because if anybody's listening or watching that has not seen What We Do in the Shadows,
go. Please
watch it. It's amazing. And hey, maybe that'll actually help you understand even the humor in Thor 2. I don't know. But it's What We Do in the Shadows is amazing. And same director. And I can never say his name right.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to say it because I sound like a complete white jackass. So that guy is very talented and awesome. I'm excited to see him in this movie.
Speaking of which, from what I understand is he's looking to do, well, not only is he looking to do Akira next, where he's going to do like a fake, he's going to do an adaptation of Akira, but also he's going to do a sequel to What We Do in the Shadows,
which I'm so excited about.
Thanks to the comparisons between those two movies, I had another batch of people telling me that I'm a dead ringer for Jermaine Clement as a vampire, because I have dressed up as a vampire with that long black hair, and everybody's like, "Dude, hey, do you know you kind of look like this guy?" I'm like, "I know." Every time an article surfaces of that movie,
whenever I watch it, I think of you every single time. And then my favorite scene, of course, when he transforms into the cat. He never gets the faces right, and that scene breaks me every time. I sob. I laugh so hard.
That's good. I keep saying that I'm gonna put that character into my cosplay rotation, Christina, for some cons. But well, we can't wait till you see it and give us your thoughts on the movie, my friend. But I thoroughly enjoy it, and I'll be seeing it before it's out of the theater. Is my plan. Other movie news. One of Christina has mentioned it's her favorite, and it's one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies, was Unbreakable, and of course it's pretty much a modern day superhero story. And then last year we got Split, which I feel like was one of his first really good movies in a long while. And then they had to like just go and blow our minds up by telling us they're part of the same universe. And not only that, but after the success of those two movies, they're now making a sequel to both of them that connects both movies.
Wait, there was a sequel to Unbreakable?
Yeah. Well, the movie that's coming out is.
Oh, no. I thought you said there's another movie that was connected to it. That's why
Split is connected to it.
I didn't even know about this movie.
It's the one with
you gotta see it, man.
Wow. It's the one with James McAvoy. He has like
he's the multiple personalities.
Multiple personalities, and it's actually on HBO right now.
I'm gonna watch it tomorrow then if I have time. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But there's a scene in it, and I'm not spoiling, but it's towards the end of the movie where Bruce Willis's character David Dunn shows up and mentions
it was literally just him and one line that basically just said, by the way, these two movies are connected.
Exactly.
And so, then they have to drop that you know, they made a sequel, which is being called Glass, which I'm sure is a reference to Sam Jackson's character in Unbreakable. And of course, we are officially underway in production for that film. And there has already been a photo of Samuel L. Jackson himself returning as his character, Mr. Glass, in the movie, looking rather regal in his new purple suit with the wheelchair, maybe meaning that he's gone to the next level in his super villainy. Darren, how excited are you for this film, man?
Oh, I am so excited for this movie. I loved Unbreakable. I loved Unbreakable for two reasons. One, it is a love letter to comic books, to comic book tropes, to comic book ideals, to comic book characters, and it was subversive. Like, it snuck up on you that this was a superhero origin movie. Like, it literally got to a point where it had to tell you, where you literally had like Glass and or Elijah Prince had to tell David Dunn and the audience, this is your superhero origin story.
Right.
So it was, and just, and that last scene, like, you know, it's become a cliche for people to shit on like Shyamalan and his twist endings, but you come on, you do not see that coming. And it was so perfectly symmetrical that everything that happened before in that movie made even more sense to you as you watched it. So the fact that, I was like you, Will, when I saw Split, I was like, this is a great movie, and it's a Shyamalan movie. And then just that scene when he showed up, I was like, okay, this makes sense, because you've got your superhero, you've got your supervillain. So what do you need then they announced Glass. What do you have now? You have your super mastermind. That's what that's what I want to see. I want to see whether or not Glass has been manipulating Crumb this whole time. Do they know each other? Considering that he's in that he was sent to a mental hospital at the end of Unbreakable. Was he in the same hospital with Crumb? Just I want to see those connections play out. And I'm hoping that they play out in a way that's not overly obvious, but makes sense, because at this point, Glass has embraced that he's a supervillain, so he's going to start acting accordingly.
Right. So absolutely. Yeah. Christina, tell me, what was it that made Unbreakable your favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie?
Pretty much, again, like everything that Darren said. It was. I remember the first time I watched it thinking it was a little boring. I was watching it with my dad in the living room, and I was kind of like this. I'm interested in it because I like the actors and the characters seem kind of interesting, but I'm not really that invested. And then, like, when you start realizing that it's a superhero story, like, everything in my head clicked where I was like, oh my God. And then I was glued to it. And then I watched it a couple of times after that. And it's, in my opinion, out of all of his movies, like, it's as good as Sixth Sense, in that you didn't really see the end coming, and then everything else in the rest of the movie made sense once you realized what it was. Yeah. And I thought that the two characters, also, you have Dunn and then you have Mr. Glass, like, the two of them interacting together, their chemistry was awesome. Yeah. And so when I saw, because I had no idea this movie was being made till I saw your email today, and I was like, are you kidding me? Because that's like my favorite Shyamalan movie, and it'll be the first time I will have watched a Shyamalan movie since I think The Happening, which completely ruined him for me. After that, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I don't even know if he's made movies other than Split since then, to be perfectly honest. He made Avatar, didn't he? No. He did. Or Last Airbender. Oh God. No, I did see part of that. Yeah.
He made he made that movie about the kids who go visit the grandparents. And
I know what you're talking about.
I think it was called The Visit. Yeah, it was called the Visit. Yeah, but it was really good. It was a really good movie.
I err on the side of caution with his stuff, because The Happening was just so bad. But I am excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see if Samuel L. Jackson's character has embraced the villain part, because I think that would be awesome. And now I'm definitely interested in Split and seeing if the three of them are going to connect somehow, because I think that would be really cool. And I love McAvoy, so.
Oh, and he was so amazing in that movie. Just
superb in that movie.
I mean, it's
definitely
McAvoy.
recommend to see.
It's like Fassbender and McAvoy. They're fantastic in everything.
Yeah.
Yes. and seeing him portray so many different characters, is pretty intense, and how good he is at all these characters and like how believable they are. And
the trailer looked really good and creeped me out. So
yes, there are some very creepy, like psychologically creepy scenes in that movie. You're just like, oh God, like
there's some close-ups of him where like you're scared just looking at him in the face, because you don't know like what's good. Like you don't know if he's going to jump or smile, and it's just that's creepy. That was look.
I don't know if you thought this, Jared, but you can almost like on some of those clips, you almost see his face changing to those characters that he's portraying or that are inhabiting him at the time.
Exactly. There was a moment in one of those scenes where you could almost see in the transition, you could see him start to tear up. Like he didn't roll a tear, but you could see like his eyes start to get watery, and then boom. That's what happened. I was like, yeah, okay. That's performance. Like that's someone who's not acting. That's someone performing. That's someone that's putting, that's putting something extra into what they're doing on set.
Absolutely. Yeah. Friend, go watch it soon and tell us what you think, okay?
Will do.
Yes, absolutely. But it's so good. Trying to think where a good well, we'll talk about them both real quick. Shazam casting news. Zachary Levi is playing Shazam, and I don't know who the kid is that's playing him. Do you, Darren? I don't watch Disney Channel movies anymore.
Yeah,
Asher. That's my wife.
Well, his name's Asher Angel, and he's on a show called I think it's called Alex Mack or something, or Alice.
Oh
Mack. Yeah. I don't like my two boys don't necessarily watch, like they watch animated stuff. They don't watch the Disney live action stuff. So I think I've only seen him kind of in passing, like when like my youngest niece has been watching something. I may have seen him, but there are people that have been complaining about his age, and I'm like, he like in the comic books, like Billy Batson is between like 10 to 12 years old. Like if you're thinking back to the old show from the 70s where he was a teenager, then you're that's what you're complaining, right? That's
a lot younger,
way off. Like so I mean, I think the casting is fine. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and if maybe for some of you listening who don't know much about Shazam, he's a kid, and his alter ego when he becomes the superhero is an adult, which I've always thought was a really interesting idea for a superhero. And Shazam's the DC version of Thor.
Yeah, you can kind of put it there. I think it's one of those things where he's like Thor mixed with like he was Thor / Magic Superman. That's kind of how he.
I like it. Magic Superman.
How he's usually portrayed. But and also like people have been like complaining about Zachary Levi, saying like he's too skinny. And I've told people like, look, I was at Dragon Con this year, and he was there signing, and it like either he knew something that everyone else did, or maybe he was kind of prepping for the role. But he's getting in shape. Like he looked. Yeah, he looked
all
bigger.
Of them have, like Chris Evans did, Chris Hemsworth did, even Robert Downey Jr. did. Like they all, especially Chris Hemsworth, they definitely put on tons of muscle for their characters. And even so, I think
6 months before the filming, those guys are going to be like in the gym like 4 hours a day, like just cracking it out. Just yeah. That's kind of
they complained about poor Gal Gadot too for Wonder Woman. It's like, shut your whore mouths, like just stop.
Yeah, thank you.
You're dirty whores, and you need to shut your dirty whore mouth. Okay.
Back to your home on Whore Island.
Damn Damn it, Darren, I missed that one. But yes, and a good tie-in for our Marvel and DC talk tonight, which I'm kind of bummed about because this gentleman was currently writing the Iron Man book that I really like from Marvel, but apparently after a very long successful run over at Camp Marvel, the man himself, Mr. Brian Michael Bendis, is now jumping ship and going to Camp DC. Christina, what do you feel about that?
I'm happy.
Concerns?
I'm happy for him. I think that it's going to be good for him to have new source material he's never worked on before, and hopefully he will help DC. I mean, we know my opinion on DC, so I hope that his insight and his work will help. And I might actually pick up some of the work because I really like Bendis. I'm really sad he's leaving Marvel, and I'm sad that he's exclusively with DC now, because everything he has done with Marvel, I have really liked, especially Ultimate Spider-Man. So, yeah, and actually Iron Man. Iron Man was really good, and Guardians. The Guardians books he worked on were great. I mean, like I said, I'm happy for him. I hope it's a really good career move. I hope that his books do well, and I'll be definitely stalking his Twitter and seeing what he's going to be working on. It's just a shame that he's leaving Marvel, because Marvel right now, I mean, I'm not collecting any Marvel books. I don't really feel like Marvel's doing a fantastic job with their comics. So I feel like they're losing a good one.
Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree. Darren, what do you think about this move for Mr. Bendis?
Well, I mean, he's been with Marvel for 17 years. So if I were anywhere for 17 years and I got the opportunity to, whether I loved everything I was doing there or not, if I had the opportunity to try something new, I mean, the older you get, the fewer days you have ahead than you have behind. I would absolutely take the opportunity, especially if it was exclusivity. My thing is, I don't know if I were him, and it's just me again speculating. If I were him, I'd go over there and create my own characters. I'd create some new characters. Like if he, the success he had, like creating, like the fact that he created like Miles Morales and Jessica Jones, like you take that creativity over to DC, because in my opinion, like DC Rebirth is so well done and so well plotted and crafted that I don't think he necessarily needs to fall into one of those titles, because everything I've read about what they have going forward and what they have coming up after Metal, like I think they're fine. I'm sad he's leaving Marvel, because I would have liked him to kind of, stay and kind of right the ship a little bit, which it looks like they're starting to do with Legacy, like after Secret Empire, because oh god. I still have nightmares about that storyline. But they've made some progress. Like if you read the new issue of Captain America, like it's Captain America. It's who Captain America should be. But I think with Bendis leaving, I would rather him go over to DC and maybe get a hand in on the relaunch of Milestone, like kind of help guide that along, create his own characters and let them flourish and see how they interact, versus just saying, hey, he's coming on and he's gonna take on Plastic Man, or if he's gonna take on an established character, the Question or the Spectre. I would love him to see him do those. Just some really awesome kind of noir character.
He would be good at that, I think.
Yeah. What we've talked about this on past shows, and I know we've had this discussion a little bit, Darren, and I think it's really cool and a testament to how comics and comic book readers and the comic industry itself has grown as a whole. Is I think back in the early days of comics, sales are really driven by popular characters and people wanting to read everything about those characters. And now we've come to a point in comic book society, where people follow artists that they like or writers that they like. And for me, like, Bendis is definitely one of those guys that has a very specific way writing that he has. Like, you could give me one of his books, and I feel like if his name wasn't on there, I'd be able to tell you, okay, this is Bendis. And so I think that open up a lot of people that are maybe just can't Marvel and don't touch DC stuff, because he's one of those really great writers that has done so much for so many different characters at his time in Marvel that, like you, I'm excited to see what he's going to do with DC characters. And so, and I, for one, am definitely going to follow whatever he does at DC. I'm going to check it out at least, because I love the way he writes things. I love the way his stories are. And so I think that's kind of a neat thing that's happening in comics now, is people are following, you know, almost like celebrities. They're following their favorite writers or favorite artists. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. But
it's kind of like
to see.
Yeah, so it does kind of harken back to like the 90s, with like before Jim Lee and Tom McFarlane and all them went off and started Image. Like, they were the rock stars of the comic book industry. Like those were the guys who you followed.
For sure. But but it like I said, sad to see him leave Marvel, but it'll be cool to see what he does at DC. Before we wrap up the show, guys, you want to take a quick round at what we did in the wide world of geek. Christina, what did you do this week, my friend?
Well, finally got my giant box of comics, and there was a lovely surprise waiting for me that I didn't realize was in my pool, and it's the Here's Negan the actual book. So
yes,
it is really lovely, and I didn't read the very last piece of it when it was online, or it's the back of the magazines, and then you can read it online. So I'm excited to read the last little bit of it. If you haven't read Here's Negan
backstory, right?
Yes, if you haven't read Here's Negan, and even if you're not a fan of the comics but you like the show, it's very short. You get to know all about Negan, and you get to understand him, and it's really awesome. Super quick read. As you can see, it's if you're watching, it's again not a very thick.
It's a thin one.
Yeah. So got to organize all my comics, start reading my Star Wars ones. I feel like I'm never going to get through them because I literally collect every single issue of Star Wars. So Dr. Aphra, Chewbacca, like all of them, I collect them, which I should probably start picking once I start reading them, pick the ones I really like, and then
picking and choosing.
Yeah, it's getting a little ridiculous. But I also want to start reading some other stuff, and I was considering picking up some stuff from DC. Maybe trying to get back in a little bit. We'll see. Especially now that Bendis is going to be there, I might want to pick up some of his work once he gets it done. And I kind of want to pick up Saga. I've been meaning to pick up Saga, but I told myself I was going to wait till Walking Dead finished, because it does have an end date. But that's not going to be for a long time, so I might have to pick up something else to keep myself busy. But that's it, really. Just still playing video games and
gotta love them video games.
Yep, I spent an inordinate amount of time playing them. So
excellent, my friend. Mr. Darren, where has the wide world of geek taken you this week, sir?
Well, I mean, I pre-ordered one of the huge gaming titles that was coming out, and I can tell you all, I had the best experience playing Call of Duty Endless Load Screen. It was
Call of Duty Endless Load Screen.
It was amazing. Just the constant error codes and bouncing back and forth. The fact that I could, that I sat there with like my controller and my headset and watched the amazing cinematic as I could not play the game in front of me for 2 days after I had pre-ordered it 3 months ago. It was a transcendent experience, and at some point I may actually go ahead and play the game.
Who's the producer of Call of Duty? Why do I always forget who that is?
Well, this new one was Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer Studios. Now, and I'm exaggerating slightly, but not too much. But once I actually got to play the game, it's actually pretty fun. They've added a lot of stuff to it. But yeah, the load screens that first day, like I'm literally like I'm a midnight guy. So if I'm, if I pre-order something and it's available at midnight for me to play, better believe me, at 12:01, I'm cutting that game on.
Yep.
And then at 1:30, it's just like, hey, maybe you want to play single player because you're not getting on multiplayer. at all.
This is giving me flashbacks.
Try this instead.
This is giving me flashbacks of when why was I say Resident Evil? Not Resident Evil. Grand Theft Auto came out last time. 2 days, couldn't get on the game.
Yeah. So I mean, in that time that I was waiting to play Call of Duty, I've been reading DC and Marvel, like reading all the DC metal tie-in stuff. So like I definitely recommend, came out today, Batman Lost. Oh, it's a surreal comic. It's a nightmare. Like there's hope in it, but just the fact that you just see how that hope is stripped away from Bruce, and Bruce makes a decision that you would just never expect from Bruce Wayne. We would never expect from Batman, and it's heartbreaking when you actually see it on this on the page. So Batman Lost was definitely be like my number one my number one pull for this week.
And then, it has a pretty shiny metallic cover.
Yes, it does. And then on the Marvel side, Daredevil number 595 is actually pretty good. It's, you know, Matt comes back from arguing a case and winning a case in front of the Supreme Court, comes back to New York, and Wilson Fisk is the mayor. So just just dealing with just dealing with like these legitimized superheroes to the government. And then Secret Empire happened, and then now he comes back to New York, and just the fact that that there's like these subtle hints of the election that just kind of happened in this country, where you had you have Matt talking to one of his friends in the DA's office about Kingpin, and she's like, well, I don't think he's that bad, because I used to have a car, and that's the thing. She says, I used to have a car, and if you live in New York, having a car is a big deal, and I took care of it, and I made all my payments, and I finally got it paid off, and Spider-Man came along and threw it at the Rhino. So he's like, so now I'm back to taking the bus. So and then he's like, well, you didn't vote for him, did you? And she's like, well, that's none of your business. So it was it's a fun comic, just because just the whole dynamic of a city of the city Matt loves kind of embracing the guy he hates, and that's a fun
I think a lot of us can relate to that right now.
Yeah. A lot of parallels. Not so subtle.
Cool, man. Anything else, buddy?
Nothing other than that. I got my pre-order for Star Wars Battlefront 2. I mean, so that's in a few days. That's in less than next
week, right?
Yeah, comes out next week. Comes out the same day as Justice League. So once after I come back from seeing Justice League, I can sit down and pray that this one works.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed I won't be able to play Battlefront until December, probably, because friend visiting next week and then we're traveling. So I want to play Star Wars Battlefront so bad.
Well, I'll tell you, next time we get together, after I start playing, I'll tell you I'll give you my impressions about whether it's worth it or not. All right. Yeah.
Cool. As far as for me, guys, I didn't do anything too crazy. I got to take part in a blood drive that a friend of mine put on, to raise, blood banks need blood with all the disasters and tragedies going on. So we got a crap ton of superhero cosplayers in the 501st and characters from all walks of life, and we got people to get out there and donate blood, which was super fun. And for me, it's just an excuse to do something good, but also to dress up and hang out with my fellow geeks and cosplayers. So that was a blast. I already showed you that I read the Dark Knight's Batman Lost, which is like the first of the metal comics that I've read, Darren. So I feel like maybe I was missing a few things, but
yeah.
I want to go back and read them now for sure. And then also, while I was at the comic shop today, because you guys know that I love me some toys. I love action figures from everything under the sun. And some of my favorite action figures to collect are the Marvel Select figures from Diamond Select, which are like the
Oh,
higher end
I
collectible
know.
figures that you get at the collectible shops. Well, look who they came out with. Spider-Man
Oh,
from Spider-Man Homecoming. Booyah.
Amazing.
He's beautifully detailed, 16 points of articulation, and he comes with 8 different hands. So 4 pairs of
what?
hands, which they normally only throw like 4, sometimes 6. We got 8
Mhm.
on Spider-Man. And he comes with a cool rooftop diorama base, which I love. I think the only thing that would have put like this figure into the stratosphere was giving him an alternate Tom Holland head. But
Yeah.
I love it nonetheless, and I love it because they gave all these figures these new like side leg joints, so you can really like do the extra poses, especially that Spider-Man would have to do. Uh, fucking love this thing, man. I love it. He's gonna look great on my shelf with the other Avengers. I picked him
Nice.
up today. Very excited. So if you guys curious about these figures, they normally are around the $24.99 mark at your local comic shop or collectible shop. Check them out. Apparently, I missed Star-Lord, but I already had the Doctor Strange that was on the back of that package, so I got some more collecting to do. But yeah, but that was about it, guys. And then of course just watched finished Stranger Things 2, and did the Halloweens, and that's about it for me, guys. I'm gonna go to like Magic Mountain this weekend for the first time
Yay.
in like
Yay.
7 years, and of course Magic Mountain is chock full of DC all over the place. So probably
Yeah.
be posting some obnoxious pictures on Twitter for you guys while I'm there. So I look forward to that. But friends, I think that's a good spot to wrap up. Mrs. Walker, would you like to take us out this week on the final thoughts for us this week, my dear?
Just want to say I love everybody out there. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next week. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you can at Boobafett83.
Yeah, follow Christina and her growing human.
I promise I won't be obnoxious about talking about the baby.
Hey,
No, because
you
I'm
have
gonna
every
ask
right to
about
be,
it
friend.
a lot.
Yes. And if they don't like it, I don't know. Just whatever. Yes. Thank you, friend. I'm so excited for you, and thanks for always being on and imbibing our show with your loveliness. Mr. Generally, what do you got for the final thought this week, sir?
Well, my final thought is, you've gotten, if you're on Twitter now, you got 280 characters. Try not to be a dick with them. I mean, come on. There was
Yes.
140 characters was fine if you actually because it forced you to actually kind of use your brain to
Yes.
make a cohesive thought. But now that you have more characters, it's almost like drink responsibly, like tweet responsibly. Like
Absolutely.
there's too much irresponsible tweeting. But one of the things I've been doing on Twitter is I've been following like actresses who've been talking about their experiences. I've been reading a lot of the hashtag Me Too experiences. I've been talking to people on that platform, and just literally at this point just trying to kind of make a mental flow chart of who's not a piece of shit in Hollywood. So, which
it's difficult nowadays.
Exactly. It's becoming a much shorter list than it used to be, but it's definitely worth learning about learning about experiences that I have never, and unfortunately probably will never face in my life, but I want to know how to be a better person at either identifying or helping people who are in that situation. So it's interesting. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. But if you want to follow me on Twitter as I, rage against people just being ridiculous about 280 characters or just, being Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
You can follow me in 2 places. You can follow me at Grimorian219. That's my personal one. I tend to follow back, but all of my opinions are mine and do not reflect the thoughts and views of the Geek Side Pod or the entity. Or you can follow my safe page, which would be my safe Twitter, which is @SuperpoweredFan.
Yes. Awesome, buddy. Thank you as always. For my final thought, and it just like it makes me laugh thinking about this because one of my, well, I guess we'll say childhood pop culture heroes is none other than the Green Ranger, Mr. Jason David Frank. And apparently he got into it with one of his childhood heroes who ended up being a total dick when he met him in person, which doesn't surprise me. And that person is Jean-Claude Van Damme. Make it quick. Short story goes, in '95 when the Power Rangers movie came out, JDF finally got to meet Van Damme. Van Damme was a total dick, kind of blew him off. Fast forward to 2010 when JDF was at the height of his MMA career, and he said, hey, you know what? You want to show what a badass you are? Why don't you meet with me in the ring? Of course, Van Damme didn't respond. We get to now, and I guess Mr. Van Damme decided to, throw his my dick is bigger than yours card around and be like, hey, you gonna apologize for that shit you said in 2010? And he's like, nope. And he's like, well, let's fight right now then. And apparently these two got kind of into it a little bit. And apparently the story from both camps is that Mr. Van Damme froze up when JDF got him in a headlock. So that just shows you who the bigger badass is. That would be the Green Ranger, people.
Not JCVD. Not JCVD.
Yes. Yeah, but somebody's about to call down that Dragon Zord. Boom.
I'm just saying it was a headlock. Had he gone for the legs, he could have split him or something.
That's a weird story. That's an unexpected story but I like it.
Yeah, you just look it up. It's hilarious. There's a little bit of footage. It doesn't show much, but I mean, you can read the stories, and you can read JDF's response to what actually happened. And it's really one of those things where it's like JDF was trying to be cool and bury the hatchet because they're at a convention together in Mexico, and all of a sudden Van Damme's crew's like, well, hey, we want to use your green room, and then next thing you know, like 20 guys plus Van Damme take over JDF's green room.
Wow.
And then they're like, oh, well, he wants a picture with you. And then as soon as the guy walks in, everybody's already rolling cameras on their cell phones, like they were expecting something to go down. I'm like, what kind of a dick does this? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whatever. only in geek culture, Hollywood history, right? It's good stuff.
Exactly.
But boys and girls, that's all for this week. Please keep checking us out at the GWW.com for all the latest in geek culture. Check it all out. Comics, TV, movies, tech, video games, so much more. It's always there. Please check us out on Twitter at _GeekSidePod, where you can find myself and the rest of the crew tweeting about all kinds of damn crazy things. And you can find me on Twitter or on Instagram at Darth Sparrow. As always, we'll catch you guys next week on that very special side that we all love to talk about. And we're, of course, talking about the geek side. See you next week, y'all.